Welcome back to our podcast series about content marketing with Stylight. Last week, we discussed some of Stylight's past campaigns, some amazing things about working with minions and with Pokemon. And this time, we're going to talk more about the future of content marketing. So how do you, when you have a campaign, let's say like the minion campaign, how do you PR your content marketing?
So for me, I think, as we've discussed in sort of the first and second episodes, I think it's so important to have a tailored approach. Don't just send out a bunch of emails to journalists and kind of expect something to happen. I think always have a strategy. And I think that's so important in PR and content marketing, in PR in anything really. So for me, it's kind of segmenting journalists, it's segmenting audiences based on what content you've produced and how you expect it to be received by your audiences. So have an idea, have a clear idea and a clear strategy of which publications you're going to be outreaching to. And that will ultimately help maximise visibility and kind of the way that you want the journalists to perceive your content and how they're going to write about it, really. And for me, I think one of the biggest aspects of PR and content marketing as a PR is to have consistent and effective relationships with journalists. So constantly sort of drop them emails, say, hey, this is what we're working on at the moment, meet up with them for breakfast and lunch, dinners, drinks. So having those relationships in place will definitely help you with PR and your content. So definitely kind of relationships are kind of key, and I think that's kind of a basic with PR really. For me, emailing that content is definitely better doing kind of personalised emails. So don't just send out a blanket email to 500 people because it's so impersonal. And people aren't stupid. I think they kind of can see that from a mile off if you're just on a mailing list. It just shows kind of a lack of kind of input and effort really. And I think if you want your content to be perceived positively by journalists, I think the way you execute it and the way you email them is key. So for me, emailing, having personalised emails in place, having just a really brief overview of the campaign, what we want to perceive with the campaign, and have I always kind of attach an infographic, a bright infographic from the campaign within the email. Because I think that's the first thing that people will see. It's instantly drawing journalists, okay, what is this? That's really cool, that's really bright, that's really fun. And it gives them a good idea by having a visual within the email to kind of what we want to show with our content. Another thing that I'd say, kind of a tool that we use, which is amazing for sending out emails to journalists, is Gorkana, which is a media database. And so for us, obviously, our main kind of area that we work on with content is fashion, as we're a fashion platform. But obviously, as we discussed last week with the AirPods campaign, it was more of a tech campaign. And obviously, that's a great tool if you don't have a list of your own of tech or news journalists. So that's what I kind of use for publications that I'm not necessarily aware of, or journalists that I'm not familiar with or don't have that relationship with already. So that's great for basic emails. And I think just ensuring that your emails are targeted and informative, because journalists are so busy they don't have enough time to read through essays of an email. So just really clear, to the point, and just really informative really. And always follow this up with a follow-up email or a phone call if they haven't got back to you saying, yes, it works, or yes, it doesn't, no, it doesn't for the site. And try to receive feedback. If you've got these relationships in place with journalists, I think it's key to try and kind of why they like the campaign. If they have written an amazing feature about it, ask them why they liked it. Ask them, was it the design of the infographic? Was it the theme? Was it the way we executed it? I think feedback constantly from journalists is key, and I think that's definitely one way that we use feedback from journalists, because I think these are ultimately the people that are going to write about it. So if they're not a fan of the campaign, or if they love the campaign, try and get why they didn't and why they did like it. And yeah, I think ultimately like having an organic approach really. So one example which I like to use is kind of over the summer when we did our Fashion Month campaign. Victoria Beckham tweeted and put it on her social media and her Instagram. and it completely went viral overnight. But journalists actually thought that she created the campaign herself, and that we hadn't. So that was a bit of a hiccup, but they actually thought that she created the campaign, so I had to inform journalists who had written about it, no, it's from us. So
Victoria doesn't draw Pokemon.
Victoria doesn't draw Pokemon. So for me that was kind of a real big kind of learning curve for me in the sense of educating journalists that we had done the campaign. But it happens, you know, and I think that's one great thing with journalists is that they want to get it right. So just drop them an email, say
to laugh about it.
And if they laugh about it at the end of the day, then that's great. And they still wrote that we had done it. So
great.
Win-win.
Yeah. I remember I was on holiday saying like, why are they saying that Victoria Beckham's drawn a Pokemon?
Yeah. it went crazy. So but it worked perfectly for us in the end because it increased the amount of coverage we got by 100% really. We got 100 links from it. So it was great.
And I think that shows that like social is a PR tool as well.
100%.
For sure. Like often, you know, for example with the Minions as well, of course we sent it out to some journalists, but not on the scale of links that we got back in return. And that really grew just from social. Like I had publications calling me saying, oh, we saw that you've done this Minions campaign, can you please send us the artwork? And I was like, God, of course, but that was from them seeing it through social. So using the right captions, the right hashtags, sending it to the right people, say on Instagram or Twitter, can work wonders.
So once you've opened up all of these opportunities, and actually opportunities will start coming to you by themselves through social.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really when we know like it's working, when people are calling us. And that's happened with some huge publications contacting us, and I'm just like, wow, this really is amazing. It really shows the power of a good campaign and good social and PR outreach.
So once you've put all of this time and effort into a content marketing campaign, how do you actually measure the return on investment for each campaign? What are some ways that you could do that, for example?
It can be really tough. I'll say that straight away because I think with content, maybe, you know, if your goal is to like make loads of sales, maybe they don't come straight away. I think content campaigns can often be immediately successes in terms of social, but maybe a slightly longer leads in terms of making sales or driving, you know, returning customers. I think it's essential to know what your goals are from the start. So we produce loads of different types of campaigns. So some we're like, okay, this is more of a data PR piece. So we'll give people really relevant data about what our users are searching for. And that's maybe more a piece to drive sales or to increase searches on the site. And then Minions is probably more social campaign and to get sort of our name out there and be remembered. So it can be a challenge. So I would say from the outset define whether it's a social campaign, data PR, brand awareness, or like more of a profit-driven piece. And then just think really about how you want to showcase yourself within that. For us, I mean, we're quite sort of SEO driven in our outlook towards this. So it's a lot about links. And we also measure social engagement. That's a big one for us. And then, yeah, as I said, if PRs and journalists are contacting us, then I see that as a pretty good
indication.
ROI, a pretty good indication. And then for us, it's all about returning customers. So if we see that people have clicked on Minions and then they've gone back to the site and they've returned, we usually consider that to be a really good measure.
So what is, in your opinion, the future of content marketing? Now we've talked about past campaigns that you've had, things that people do a lot now, what, you know, reoccurring themes you see in content marketing, but where do you think this is all evolving?
I think for me, kind of the outlook of content marketing it's such a big kind of area at the moment for the industry. And I think it's only going to get bigger. So, but for me, I think it's kind of looking at how, content and commerce interact with each other and how important kind of that is for a company or a brand or a platform. So I think it's essential that kind of the blurred the blurred lines between content and commerce. I think that's definitely a big thing that is going to happen. If not, it's kind of a thing that happens already, is that, you know, brands produce content for commercial purposes, but I think it's only going to increase. So yeah, for me, it's kind of that really as well.
I mean, I think brands are going to have to start kind of thinking like publishers. I just think that there's such strong publishers out there and also really strong brands, but it's the people who are kind of being both that are succeeding there. Mm-hmm. I think that it's going to sort of be a shift to sort of more quality rather than quantity.
Definitely. It's not about kind of sending out a campaign every 3 days, because at the end of the day, I think that's almost too much. But I think if you really work on a campaign for a good amount of time, really kind of harness, okay, what is the message that we want to deliver? What's the kind of area that we want to showcase to our audience, and what's the message that we want to deliver? Mm-hmm. Then I think if that takes a month or 2 months to get that solidified and get that correct, then I think ultimately, like, it's quality over quantity. I mean, for us, like, we aim to kind of send out a campaign maybe 2 or 3 a month. Mm-hmm. So it's not about shoving content constantly in our audience faces. I think it's really kind of making it, you know, a good quality piece of content that our audience will really engage with, mm-hmm. and doing that as and when, really. It's not just doing something for the sake of it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important, really. So, and it's something that I think will be more of a trend in the future of content marketing, mm-hmm. is the quality aspect. And I think more kind of interactivity, 100%. I think it's something that, you know, brands is kind of still trying to see, okay, how can we make our audience really, really engage with our content and interact? But I think it's still quite a grey area, really. And some brands do it really, really well, but they're kind of few and far between. Mm. And I think definitely once you kind of look at how your audience interacts with your content and do that time and time again, I think you're onto a winner. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely the way that it will go, whether it's through, as I said last week, kind of the you know, what with Instagram and Snapchat and kind of the video content side of things. I think definitely video content is going to be a massive thing kind of moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I think as well, kind of, as Sean said, sort of brands thinking like publishers, the content should be more purposeful and meaningful, and kind of really have like really get your audience to think. You know, audiences are so switched on now that I think it's almost like, you know, you have to get them to engage as much as people are so switched on now. Mm. And I think people aren't silly, and people really do engage with their brands in a whole other different way. I don't think brands even realise themselves how much their audiences are going to kind of want from their brands, mm-hmm. now that they follow on platforms. So, yeah, I think really kind of get your audience to think, and really delivering kind of meaningful and engaging content is kind of the future, really, in the outlook.
Yeah, and I think if you are producing content that is sort of more fast-paced, like quicker content, it just has to be so reactive and like funny. So we were talking the other day about things that we've sort of seen that we liked, and I was just laughing about the IKEA reaction to Kanye West when he said he wanted to do a collaboration with IKEA, and we were just like laughing our heads off. If you haven't seen it, check it out, because they sort of created like the bed from the famous video, and it's just that type of thing. I think people are just going to have to be more like that, be able to turn stuff around. If you're going to do something funny, turn it around really quickly, just send it off perfectly. You know, it's all about how you package things. And I think, it's going to be a mix between that kind of really hilarious viral stuff and then more sort of, powerful interactive publishing stuff that's more long lead.
It's going to be extremely interesting to see how this space does evolve with content marketing. And I'm sure we're going to take up this discussion again in the future and see how far we've come from today, because it is constantly moving.
Definitely.
So thank you so much to Stylight. Thank you, Aurora and Sean, for being here today and for the past 2 episodes. Thanks to all of our listeners, and we will see you next time.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.